As you know, there's been an awful lot of concern about endangered species and this and that going extinct. But one thing people aren't talking about too much is that one of the most endangered species on Earth right now has got to be the human heart. And I want to talk about that a little bit. There's been a couple of decades that I've been able to watch. You see these gray hairs that show me that human relationships have gone down and down since the 70s, 80s. There's been a continuous downslide in the ability of human beings to relate favorably to one another, at least in our culture. Divorce rates have gone up, but more than that, an insidious alienation has taken place, in which we finally have come to new strategies for relating that include virtual relationships, that include all kinds of web friendships and so forth, that are actually very minor and quite estranged. There is not that much closeness in these things. There is not that much reality in these things. As you begin to watch text messaging and these kinds of technologies, you begin to see, yep, for sure, relationship ain't what it used to be. And what we're really seeing in part, as part of this process of extinction, as we see it in all the other species, is actually a problem called the loss of habitat. What is the habitat of the human heart? The habitat of the human heart is close intimacy. It is people being with other people who care. Now, the loss of habitat has been created by the fact that people have gotten scared of relationship. We have all learned that it's important to keep your own space. It's important to watch out for all the kinds of problems that dysfunctional people suffer in relationships, right? Abandonment, betrayal, right? Loneliness, abuses of different kinds. All the disappointments have been duly noted, and great stress has been put on the importance of avoiding these kinds of problems. But what has the effect been of all this? Alienation, estrangement, running and hiding, putting too many walls up for close relationships to really exist. Now that, friends, has created a serious degradation in habitat for the human heart. Every one of us as human beings needs close relationships to be happy. We need to be loved in person, and we need to love in person. Emails are not enough. Blogs are not enough. Debates are certainly not enough on chat rooms and so forth, chat boards, right? This is not enough to satisfy the human heart and the human soul, which needs a high quality exchange of a lot of love to feel that it is home, that it is at home, that it is in its proper, nutritious, warm habitat. You cannot effectively let the human heart exist in estranged spaces, alienated spaces, and thrive there, and expect it to thrive. It will not thrive. It is not thriving. So when you talk to people about relationship and you see that they are running and hiding, when you see them become afraid at the mention of the idea of living together, of commitment, of all these things, okay, that have something to do with the necessary requirements for the creation of an effective habitat for humanity, you must think, what is going to happen to the human heart if the natural habitat of humanity is destroyed? So I am saying, Consider the possibility that human relationships, close relationships, and the habitat that makes those things possible, that supports close relationships, consider the possibility that that habitat should be restored, should be protected if it exists anywhere, should be cared for. There should be a husbanding of the natural resource of the proper habitat for humanity, for human beings to thrive in. The context of close relationships, the context of love, the context of close intimacies, these things need to be restored. Now, granted, we're too scared in many cases, okay, to enter into close relationships or to venture into the kind of habitat that our hearts need. If only what? If only we could actually function decently, effectively in relationship, instead of hurting each other as a result of fear, instead of lashing out to protect ourselves because we're afraid, instead of doing all the kinds of things that scared and insecure people do that have made relationships an endangered species. We need to develop in ourselves some kind of trust. We need to build experiences of relationship that are positive ones by loving each other, by caring for one another, by showing tolerance and forgiveness to one another. Right? We need to have this experience. We need to do this because we, as human hearts, we need that experience, and we need the habitat to thrive in that is natural to our hearts and our souls. So I hope that some of you can feel that it's okay to argue for the human heart, that it's okay to point out the fact that the heart is going extinct in the midst of the world of virtual relationships, instant messaging, and so forth. It is suffering, at least. It is in an anorexic condition relative to soul nourishment, soul nutrition, of close intimacy, love, nurturing, caring, touching even, all these things that make for healthy chimpanzees and healthy people. Okay? We all know that a chimpanzee that is not touched becomes neurotic, socially dysfunctional. The same is true of human babies, and the same is true of human beings at all ages, because all years are formative. And we are being formed into neurotic and socially and emotionally dysfunctional forms by the fact that our habitat has been ruined. Our habitat is being destroyed fast because of distrust. Do not enter into relationships. Do not trust anyone who says you should, and so forth. So people like me who live in community and who believe in human relationships are dinosaurs, and we are as unpopular as Al Gore in the face of human scorn and fear. People do not want to invest what it takes to restore human habitat of love. They do not want to invest heart in many cases because they are afraid. And I am looking like a doomsayer to so many people because I say we are an endangered species as human hearts, and something needs to be done. A big something needs to be done to restore our habitat. And that big something is trust. That big something is forgiveness. That big something is the experience of love that we all need to invest in and enable, potentiate, right, and make beautiful enough to be a sustainable system, a sustainable habitat of love. This is what we need. If anyone out there cares about the human heart, if anyone out there dares to say this message to their friend, to show this video to their friends, I would encourage you to do that. We need consciousness about this problem, and it's a very easy thing to create. Just give a link to this video to your friends and start this discussion rolling worldwide so that people can realize that this problem is a very serious one. And you might even dare to think that this problem relates to or is the cause of many other problems that we face. For example, consumerism, which is destroying this world in many ways, putting ridiculous economic pressures on our world. Consumerism is a huge problem that results in part from hollow legs. People who are emotionally unfulfilled are very strong shoppers. Everyone knows this, okay? Now think about emotional unfulfillment that leads to great shoppers and tremendous credit card debt. Think about the fact that every person needs their own everything, their own house, their own car, their own blah, blah, blah. Think about how much more expensive it is when couples get divorced and they have to maintain 2 households when before they had 1 household. Living apart from other human beings is financially expensive, and living in a spirit of emotional frustration makes for great shoppers and consumers. We need human intimacy to work. We need living together relationships to be possible. And as we face the uncertainties of the economic future and the pressures of diminishing resources, we need these things more and more every year. It will come to a point where these things are absolutely essential. And what I would like to see is that when that point arrives, we are ready to live with one another in harmony. And we are ready because we have developed those social skills by practicing love in close company, in intimate relationships over time. That way, when that future of what we could call economically mandated togetherness arrives, we will be ready for it, and not only that, we will be joyfully expecting it, and we will embrace it with open arms instead of terror, because we love love and we love closeness, and we have already restored our own natural habitat in our own ways, in our own little worlds within this world, our own worlds of relationship. Think about that. Please consider the problem of the extinction of the human heart a serious one, and please do something about it. Thank you.